Easy English Steps. Learn with Stories. Introduction. Hello and welcome. Do you wish you could speak English without feeling shy? Imagine watching movies and knowing what they say, or talking easily with people from different countries. Maybe you have tried to learn English before and felt stuck. Perhaps the rules for words seem hard to understand, or speaking out loud makes you feel a little nervous. If this sounds like you, please know you are not alone. Many people feel this way when they start learning a new language. But what if learning English could be easy, fun, and even exciting? This is where our book, Easy English Steps, Learn with Stories, can help. We think the best way to learn English is by using stories. Think about how you learned your first language as a child. You did not sit with a book of rules, did you? You learned by listening, by seeing, and by understanding the stories around you. Our book uses this same natural, simple way to help you learn English. Stories are great because they make learning feel less like work and more like an adventure. They get your attention and make you want to know what happens next. When you hear words and sentences in a story, you learn what they mean from how they are used, and this helps you remember them much better. Our aim is very simple: to make learning English easy and fun, so you can feel sure of yourself and speak well. We do this by using interesting stories that are easy to follow. You will hear English that is clear, slow, and sounds natural. This helps your ears get used to the sounds and helps you learn how to say words the right way. Learning a language is like making a muscle stronger. It needs practice every day. This book is made to help you practice a little each day. These small, regular steps will lead to big good things over time. As you understand more and more from the stories, your confidence will grow without you trying. You will start to feel much more comfortable using English. This book is your helper, but you are the explorer on this fun English adventure. To get the most from it, try reading the stories out loud. Listen closely to the clear English and try to say sentences after you hear them. This is called shadowing, and it is a wonderful way to get better at speaking. Do not worry about making mistakes. They are a normal part of learning. Most important, have fun. Get ready to open up a world of new chances. We are so happy to have you with us on this trip. Let the adventure start. 1. Learn English with stories. Learning English can sometimes feel like a very big hill to climb, right? You see many words and rules. But what if I told you there is a way to make it feel like a fun trip? That is what we do with Easy English Steps. We learn English using stories. Think about how you learned your first language. Did someone give you a long list of words to remember? Probably not. You learned by hearing people talk, by hearing stories, and by seeing how words work together when people use them. This is called learning English with stories. We use interesting stories to help you learn English. Instead of just trying to remember words from a list, you hear new words and grammar used in a real situation in a story. This makes learning feel more natural and fun. The story helps you understand what words mean by how they are used, and that makes them easier to remember. This way of learning is great for people who are new to English. It helps you listen better, speak more, and feel happy and sure of yourself as you learn. Let's think about a story. Imagine a young explorer named Leo. Leo wanted to learn English. He tried studying books with many rules. It was hard. He felt confused and a little sad. Then he found a story about a brave pirate sailing the seas. The story was simple, with clear words and exciting things happening. As Leo read, he met new words. He didn't just see a word like ship. He read about the pirate on his ship, sailing across the blue water. He understood that ship was a boat for sailing. When the story talked about the pirate looking for treasure, Leo knew it was something valuable hidden away. He learned the word brave when the pirate faced a big storm. The story showed him what brave meant, not being afraid even when things are scary. This is how stories work their magic. They give words a place to live. A word is not just a sound or a mark on paper. It is part of an action, a feeling, or a description. When you read or listen to Leo's pirate adventure, you are not just learning words. You are learning how people use those words to tell a story, to share feelings, and to describe the world. It is like watching a movie in your mind, and the English words are the actors, the places, and the action all together. This makes learning feel less like work and more like playing. One of the best things about learning English with stories is that it makes learning fun. When you are excited to find out what happens next in a story, you forget that you are even studying. You are just enjoying the trip. This excitement is a powerful tool for learning. It keeps you wanting to learn, even on days when it feels a little hard. Think about the pirate story again. Leo was not thinking, "Oh, I must learn this new verb." He was thinking, "What will the pirate find in the chest? Will he get away from the storm?" This natural wanting to know makes learning happen almost without you knowing it. Stories also help you understand English in a very natural way, just like you learned your first language. When you hear a new word in a story, you usually understand what it means from the situation. For example, if a story says, "The little bird was hungry. It looked for a worm," you can guess that hungry means wanting food. You do not need a dictionary to tell you. You learned it from the story. This is much better than looking at a list of words and their meanings. When you learn words from a list, they feel separate, like single facts. But when you learn them in a story, they become part of a bigger picture. They have a purpose. This makes them stay in your memory much better. This way of learning also really helps to make your listening skills better. When you listen to stories, especially when they are told slowly and clearly, you are training your ears. You start to hear the sounds of English, the flow of the sentences, and how words connect. Imagine listening to Leo's pirate story being read out loud. At first, some words might sound fast. But as you listen again and again, you start to hear more and more. You hear the difference between see and see, or there and there. Your brain starts to get used to the sounds of English. This is like building a strong base for speaking. The better you can hear and understand, the easier it will be to speak. And what about feeling sure of yourself? That is a very big part of learning. When you can follow a story, when you understand what is happening, you feel like you have done something good. This feeling is very important for beginners. It tells your brain, "Hey, I can do this." This success makes you want to try more. You feel more willing to speak. If you understand the pirate's journey, you might feel ready to talk about your own adventures, even in simple English. You might start to use some of the words you learned from the story. Instead of feeling shy, you feel proud. This is the power of building confidence step by step with every story you enjoy. The language used in stories is often more real and useful for everyday life than what you might find in some old books. Textbooks can sometimes give you very formal or unusual sentences. But stories, even simple ones, tend to use language that people actually use when they talk. If Leo's pirate story had the pirate saying, "Ahoy, matey," or "Shiver me timbers," these are fun phrases that are part of the story's world. But even more importantly, the story would use common phrases like "he looked for" or "she felt sad because" or "they walked to." These are the basic parts of everyday talking. By learning them in a story, you are learning practical English that you can use right away. Let's think about that pirate story, Treasure Island, as an example. Imagine a beginner reading a very simple version of it. They might see the phrase, "The captain shouted, 'Land ho!'" The word "shouted" is easy to understand because the exclamation mark and "what is happening" suggest a loud voice. "Land ho!" is a special phrase sailors use when they see land. Even if the beginner does not know exactly what "ho" means, they understand the excitement of seeing land after a long trip. They see the captain is happy and wants everyone to know. The story shows them that "shouted" means to speak loudly. This is much better than seeing shouted, to speak with a loud voice in a dictionary. The story gives it life. It shows the action of shouting. The real good things from learning new words in a story are huge. When you learn a word like curious from a list, it is just a word. You might know what it means, but you do not know how to use it. But if you read in a story, Leo was curious about the old map, you see curious connected to Leo and the map. You understand that Leo wanted to know more about the map. This connection makes the word useful. You can then try to use it yourself. You might say, I am curious about this story. You have taken a word from a story and made it your own. This is how real learning happens. It is not just about remembering, it is about understanding and using. Now, how can a beginner actively use a story to get better at speaking? It is more than just understanding. Let's say you are listening to Leo's pirate story as a recording. You listen once to understand the main idea. Then, you listen again, maybe with the words in front of you. As you listen, you can pause the recording after a sentence. Try to say that sentence out loud. Say it like the person telling the story. The pirate sailed across the sea. Try to copy the sounds, the rhythm, the way the words flow together. This is called shadowing, and it is a very strong way to make your pronunciation and speaking smoother. You can also try to tell parts of the story again in your own words. After listening to a part, close your eyes and try to explain what just happened. You do not need to use perfect English. You can use the simple words you know. The pirate found a map. He wants to find treasure. This practice helps you to make your own sentences. It connects the words you hear with the words you can say. It is like practicing a dance. You watch the dancer, you understand the moves, and then you try to do them yourself. By telling it again, you are taking the learning from listening and turning it into active speaking. This is the beauty of learning English with stories. It is a journey that uses your mind and your feelings. It makes learning feel less like a hard job and more like an exciting adventure. You are not just collecting words, you are discovering worlds. You are not just remembering grammar, you are understanding how people talk to each other. And with every story you finish, you are building a stronger path to speaking English with confidence and happiness. By diving into interesting stories, we have seen how learning English can become an adventure. But understanding a story is just the first step. The next important part of our journey is to take what we have learned from these stories and start using it ourselves, turning listening into speaking. 2. Listen and speak better. Learning a new language can feel like standing at the edge of a big ocean, not knowing how to swim. You see the words, you hear the sounds, but it feels too hard to catch them and make them yours. Many people who start learning feel this way. They might try to learn word lists or memorize rules, but when they need to listen to someone speak English, or say something themselves, the words get lost. It's like having all the pieces of a puzzle but not knowing how they go together. This is where our special way of learning, called learning with stories, makes a big difference. Instead of just looking at words on a page, we use stories. Think of a story like a helpful friend. It doesn't just show you a word. It shows you the word being used in a situation where it makes sense. This is very important for learning to listen and speak better. Let's talk about listening first. When you listen to English that is just a bunch of sentences, it can be very hard. Each sentence can feel like a separate island. But when you listen to a story, there is a thread that connects everything. The people, the place, what happens, they all help you understand. If you hear a word you don't know, the story often gives you hints. Maybe a person smiles when they say it, or they are looking at something nice. These hints help you guess what the word means. It's like being a detective, using clues from the story to figure out new words. In Easy English Steps, we use audio for our stories. This audio is made just for beginners. The speakers talk slowly. They speak very clearly, making sure each word is easy to hear. They don't rush. This is very important because when you are learning, your brain needs time to catch up. If someone speaks too fast, it's like trying to drink from a fire hose. Too much too soon. But with slow, clear voices, your brain has a chance to catch each word, understand its sound, and connect it to the meaning in the story. You can hear the difference between sounds that are alike, like ship and sheep, or bed and bad. This careful speaking helps you build a strong base for understanding everything you hear. And the words. We don't just give you a list of words to memorize. We introduce new words naturally within the story. Imagine a story about a little girl named Lily who loves to play in her garden. She might find a beautiful, bright flower. The word bright is used to describe the flower. You can picture a flower that is full of color and light. Later in the story, Lily might feel bright inside because she is happy. The word is used again, but this time it's about a feeling. This is how learning with stories works. Words come alive because you see and hear them used in different ways, in real situations. This makes them stay in your memory much better than a simple word list. You understand not just what a word means, but how it is used. This deep understanding is the first step to being able to use the word yourself. Now, let's move to speaking. This is often the scariest part for beginners. You might understand a lot, but when you open your mouth, the words don't come out right, or you feel shy. This is completely normal. Many people feel this way. The good news is that our stories help with this too, especially with a technique called shadowing. Have you ever heard a song you love and sung along without even thinking? Shadowing is similar, but for learning English. It means you listen to someone speaking English and you try to say the exact same words, at the exact same time, or just a tiny bit after them. It's like being a shadow. You follow the speaker closely. How do you do this? It's simple, but it takes practice. First, listen to a short part of the story, maybe just 1 or 2 sentences. Second, play that part again. As the speaker begins to talk, start speaking along with them. Try to match their speed, their rhythm, and how they say the words. Don't worry if it's not perfect at first. The goal is to try to match. Third, listen to yourself. You might hear that you are saying a word differently than the speaker. That's okay. That's information. You can then try that sentence again, paying extra attention to that word. Why is shadowing so powerful? When you shadow, you are training your mouth muscles. English has sounds that might be new to you. Your tongue, your lips, and your voice box need to learn how to make these sounds. By repeating after a clear speaker, you are practicing these new movements. It's like a musician practicing scales to get their fingers to move faster and more accurately. Shadowing also helps you understand the music of English. English has a certain rhythm and flow. Some words are said louder and some are softer. Some parts of a sentence are longer and some are shorter. When you shadow, you naturally copy this rhythm. You start to sound more like a native speaker, not because you memorized rules, but because you copied someone who speaks fluently. This imitation builds your confidence. Each time you shadow a sentence and get a little closer to the original, you feel a small victory. These small victories add up. Think about a person who learned to speak English this way. Let's call him Kenji. Kenji came to a new country and felt very alone. He wanted to talk to people, but he was afraid. He tried to learn English from books, but when he heard people talking on the street, it was too fast. He couldn't understand. He felt like his brain was full of mixed-up sounds. One day, a friend told him about easy English steps. Kenji was a little unsure. Could stories really help him speak? He decided to try. He listened to the first story. It was about a lost cat. The person telling the story spoke slowly and clearly. Kenji listened. Then he tried shadowing the first few sentences. The little cat was lost, he said, trying to sound like the narrator. It was very scared. His voice was a little shaky, but he kept trying. He spent 15 minutes every day shadowing the stories. Sometimes he would repeat one sentence 10 times. He noticed that after a week, he could understand more of the story without even trying to translate every word. In his head, his mouth felt more comfortable making English sounds. He started to notice the rhythm of the sentences. Then came a moment that changed everything. Kenji was at a shop, and the shopkeeper asked him a question. Before, Kenji would have just smiled and nodded, feeling embarrassed. But this time, he understood the question, and, without thinking too hard, he answered. His words came out slowly, but they were clear. The shopkeeper understood him. Kenji felt a huge smile spread across his face. It was a small conversation, but for Kenji, it was like climbing a mountain. He realized that listening to stories and practicing shadowing had given him the tools to speak. He wasn't just hearing English anymore. He was starting to speak it. This is the power of learning with stories. It's not just about memorizing. It's about being surrounded by the language, about seeing it in its setting, about making the language feel natural. When you listen to stories, you are not just learning words, you are learning how to talk to people. The story provides a safe place to practice. You can pause, go back, and repeat as much as you need. There is no pressure. The key to unlocking this power is practicing every day. Learning a language is like building a house. You can't build it in one day. You need to lay one brick at a time, every single day. For listening and speaking, this means listening to the stories often and practicing shadowing. Even 10-15 minutes each day can make a big difference. Doing it regularly is more important than studying for a long time once in a while. When you practice every day, you keep the language active in your mind and in your muscles. You don't forget what you learned. Think about how children learn their first language. They don't sit in a classroom learning grammar rules. They listen to their parents and family talk all day. They copy sounds. They learn through stories, songs, and everyday talks. Learning with stories brings this natural, effective way to learning English. It uses the power of stories to make the language easy to understand and interesting. By focusing on listening to clear, slow speech within a story and by actively practicing speaking through techniques like shadowing, you are building both your understanding and your ability to express yourself. So, when you listen to our stories, really listen. Try to feel what the characters are feeling. Guess what might happen next. And when you practice shadowing, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every try, every repeat is a step forward. It's a step towards feeling more sure of yourself, more comfortable, and more fluent in English. You are not just learning words, you are learning to connect with people, to share your thoughts, and to understand the world around you. This journey of listening and speaking is important, and with stories as your guide, it becomes an adventure rather than a chore. By actively listening to stories and practicing speaking through techniques like shadowing, learners not only get better at understanding and saying words, but also start to build the important base for having real conversations. This leads us to explore how to take these learned skills and use them in everyday talks. 3. Practice with shadowing. Imagine you have a friend. This friend speaks English so clearly, so smoothly. Every word sounds just right. You want to sound like that too. You listen and you try to copy, but it's hard. Your tongue feels clumsy and the sounds don't come out the same. This is where a special technique, like having a secret helper, comes in. It's called shadowing. What is shadowing? Think about a shadow. It follows you everywhere, right? It's always close, always copying your shape. Shadowing in English learning is like that. You listen to someone speaking English, and you try to speak at the same time as them. You become their shadow. You listen to their voice, their rhythm, their sounds, and you try to copy them exactly. It's like singing along with your favorite song, but instead of singing, you're speaking. You might think, but I don't even know all the words. How can I speak at the same time? That's the magic of shadowing. It's not about understanding every single word perfectly when you start. It's about copying the sound. It's about getting your mouth and your ears used to the music of the English language. When you hear a story from our book, you've already heard it a little, so you have a general idea. Then, when you shadow, you are copying the way the words flow together. Why is this so good for you? Well, think about learning to ride a bike. You watch someone else, maybe your dad or mom. You see how they move their body. Then you try it yourself. Shadowing is like that for speaking. First, it makes your pronunciation much better. When you listen closely and try to copy, you start to hear the small differences in sounds. Maybe the TH sound is tricky or the R sound. By shadowing, you hear exactly how the speaker makes that sound and you practice making it yourself, over and over. It's like a tiny voice coach inside your ear, guiding you. Second, shadowing helps you learn the rhythm and intonation of English. English is not just a list of words. It has a flow, a musicality. Some words are said louder, some softer. Some sentences go up at the end, some go down. This is called intonation. When you shadow, you are copying this music. You start to feel where the natural pauses are, where the voice rises and falls. This makes your English sound more natural and easier for others to understand. It's like learning to dance. You don't just move your arms and legs randomly, you move to the beat. Shadowing helps you find the beat of English. Third, and this is a big one for many learners, shadowing boosts your speaking confidence. When you are learning a new language, speaking can feel scary. You worry about making mistakes, about not being understood. Shadowing gives you a safe way to practice speaking. You're not creating sentences from scratch yet. You're just copying. This repetition helps your mouth get used to making English sounds. It builds muscle memory for your tongue and lips. The more you shadow, the less scary it becomes to open your mouth and speak English. You start to feel more comfortable, more in control. Finally, shadowing is a fantastic way to connect listening and speaking. Often, we practice listening a lot and then we try to speak, but our brains aren't used to doing both at the same time. Shadowing trains your brain to process what you hear very quickly and to produce sounds at the same speed. It's like a workout for your language brain, making it stronger and faster at understanding and responding in English. Now, how do you actually do this with the stories in this book? It's simple, and we'll break it down. Our stories are perfect for this because they are interesting and the language is clear. Step 1. Listen first. Before you try to shadow, just listen to a short part of the story. Maybe a paragraph or two. Let the words wash over you. Try to understand the general idea. Who is talking? What are they talking about? Don't worry about every single word. Just get the feeling of the story. This step is important because it gives your brain a little preview. Step 2. Listen and repeat slowly. Now, play that same short part of the story again. This time, listen to the speaker. When they finish a sentence or even a phrase, pause the audio. Then try to say that sentence or phrase out loud. Try to copy their pronunciation and their speed as best you can. Don't try to be perfect. This is just practice. You are getting your mouth ready. Say it a few times. Step 3. Listen and speak together the real shadowing. This is the core of shadowing. Play the audio again. This time, try to speak at the same time as the narrator. Don't wait for them to finish. Try to match their pace. If they say the cat sat on the mat, you try to say the cat sat on the mat right along with them. You might stumble, you might be a little behind, or you might be a little ahead. That's okay. The goal is to feel the rhythm and copy the sounds as they happen. If you can't keep up, it's fine to slow down the audio a little bit. The important thing is to try to speak with the speaker. Step 4. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Do this with different parts of the story. Try the same sentence or paragraph several times. The more you repeat, the more natural it will feel. You'll start to notice yourself sounding more like the speaker. You'll hear the words coming out more clearly. This isn't a race, it's a journey. Every time you shadow, you are taking a step forward. Let's think about a common mistake. Some learners try to shadow a whole chapter at once. That can be too much. It's like trying to eat a whole cake in one bite. It's better to start small. Tip 1. Start with short sentences or phrases. Pick a sentence that sounds interesting. Listen to it. Try to repeat it. Then try to say it at the same time as the speaker. Once you feel a little comfortable with that sentence, move to the next one. You can build up to longer passages. Tip 2. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Seriously, this is the most important tip. Mistakes are not failures, they are learning opportunities. If you say a word wrong or your rhythm is off, just try again. Nobody is judging you. You are practicing in a safe space. The more you try, the fewer mistakes you will make over time. Think of it like learning to walk. You fall down, but you get up and try again. Tip 3. Focus on the sound, not just the words. When you shadow, listen to how the words connect. Do they blend together? Is there a pause? Is the voice high or low? Try to copy that feeling, that sound. Sometimes, the meaning of a word will become clear just by hearing how it's used in the flow of speech. Tip 4. Use the provided audio recordings for the stories. This book comes with audio. That's your best friend for shadowing. Make sure you have a way to play the stories and pause them easily. Some apps or players let you slow down audio without changing the pitch, which can be very helpful when you're starting out. Tip 5. Try to copy the speaker's feelings and energy. When you listen to a story, the narrator often puts emotion into their voice. If they sound excited, try to sound a little excited too. If they sound sad, try to capture that feeling. This makes shadowing more fun, and it also helps you understand the story better. It's not just about the words, it's about the whole message. Now, let's think about why doing this with our stories is so much better than just shadowing any random English audio you find online. Question 1. How does the story context make shadowing easier and more effective for beginners compared to shadowing random audio? This is a great question. When you listen to a story in this book, you're not just hearing random sentences. You're following a narrative. You know the characters, you know what's happening. This context acts like a helpful map. Imagine you're trying to shadow a news report. It might be fast, with lots of complex words and ideas you don't know. It can be overwhelming. But with our stories, you already have a foundation. You've likely listened to the story once or twice. You have a general understanding of the plot. So, when you shadow a sentence like, "The little bird sang a happy song," you already know it's about a bird, and it's happy. This existing knowledge helps your brain connect the sounds you're hearing with meaning. The story provides a natural environment for the English words and grammar. Instead of just memorizing vocabulary lists, you hear words used in a real situation. For example, if a story is about a family going to the park, you'll hear words like park, tree, swing, slide, and happy used in sentences that make sense. When you shadow these sentences, you're not just copying sounds, you're copying sounds that are already linked to a clear picture in your mind. This makes the words easier to remember and understand. The story also provides repetition in a natural way. Characters might talk about the same things in different ways throughout the story. This means you get multiple chances to hear and shadow similar sentence structures and vocabulary, but with slight variations. This gentle repetition is key to learning without feeling bored. It's story-based language learning in action, and shadowing is one of its most powerful tools. It makes the practice feel less like a chore and more like playing along with a familiar tale. Question 2. What are the most common mistakes beginners make when trying to shadow, and how can they avoid them using the methods described in this section? Beginners are wonderful because they are eager to learn, but they also make common mistakes as they explore new techniques. One of the biggest mistakes is trying to be perfect from the very first try. They listen to a sentence, try to shadow it, and if it's not exactly right, they get discouraged. They think, I can't do this. How to avoid this? Remember tip 2, don't be afraid to make mistakes. And remember the step-by-step process. If you try to shadow a whole paragraph and it's too hard, don't give up. Go back to step 2, listen and repeat slowly. Focus on just one sentence. Say it out loud. Listen again. Say it again. Don't move on until you feel a little more comfortable. It's about progress, not instant perfection. Another common mistake is shadowing too fast. Learners might try to match the native speaker's speed immediately. This leads to frustration because they can't keep up. The solution is in step 3, listen and speak together, but with a modification. If the audio is too fast, don't be afraid to slow it down. Many audio players have a speed control. Start at 0.75x or even 0.5x speed. As you get better, gradually increase the speed. The goal is to match the speaker's pace eventually, but it's perfectly fine to start slower. It's better to shadow slowly and correctly than to rush and get it wrong. A third mistake is focusing too much on understanding every single word. While understanding is important for the story, shadowing is primarily about sound and rhythm. If you stop to think, what does that word mean? You'll lose the speaker's pace. To avoid this, remember the initial goal of shadowing, copying the sound. Tip 3. Focus on the sound, not just the words. Let the sounds flow over you. Trust that the meaning will come with more practice and exposure. When you shadow. 4. Enjoy daily learning. Learning English can seem like climbing a very tall hill. Sometimes, it feels like there are too many words to know and too many rules to remember. Many people try to learn English by looking at long lists of words or doing hard practice. This can feel like work, and sometimes it makes learning feel slow and not fun. But what if learning English could be like reading a good story? What if the way you practice each day made you want to open your book or listen to something new? This is the main idea of learning with stories, and it helps make your daily practice something you will like. Think about how you learn anything new. If you want to get good at riding a bike, you don't just read about it. You get on the bike. You practice a little bit each day. Maybe you wobble at first, but with each small ride, you get better. You learn to keep your balance, to turn and to stop. Learning English is like this. Doing a little bit often is much better than doing a lot only sometimes. Our brains learn best when we practice them regularly. It's like giving a small plant a little water every day. It will grow strong and healthy. If you give it lots of water one day and then forget for weeks, the plant will not do well. Daily practice is like that daily water for your brain. It helps the new English words and sentences grow in your mind. Now, imagine this daily practice is not about boring exercises. Imagine it's about finding out what happens next in Lily's adventure, or helping Tom solve a small problem in his day. This is where stories make daily practice really special. When you learn English through stories, you have a reason to come back each day. You want to know what happens. You are not just trying to remember words, you are seeing them used in real life. You hear how people talk, how they feel, and what they do. This makes learning feel natural and exciting. Instead of thinking, I must study English now, you might think, I can't wait to read the next part of Lily's story. The story becomes your friend, helping you learn the language. Each day, you might learn a new word Lily uses or understand a sentence Tom says. These are small steps, but they are happy steps. One of the best and most fun ways to practice every day is something called shadowing. It sounds a little strange, but it's very easy. Shadowing means listening to someone speak English and trying to say what they say at the same time as them, or just a moment after them. Think of yourself as a shadow, following the speaker closely. You can do this with stories from your book, or with short audio clips. Why is it so good? Because you are practicing two very important skills at once: listening and speaking. You are hearing the right sounds, the right rhythm, and the right way to say words and sentences. Then, you are trying to copy it. At first, it might feel a bit odd, and you might not do it perfectly. That's okay. The goal is to try. Even just a few minutes of shadowing each day can make a big difference. You'll start to notice that your ears hear English better, and your mouth starts to make the English sounds more easily. It's like practicing a song. The more you sing along, the better you get. And when you practice with a story, you're shadowing characters you're already interested in. Every time you practice, even for a short time, you have a small success. This is very important for building confidence. Maybe today you understood a new word in the story. That's a win. Maybe you were able to say a simple sentence from the story out loud. That's another win. These small victories are like little lights. They make your learning journey brighter and make you feel good. When you feel good, you want to keep going. You start to believe in yourself. You see that learning English is not impossible. It is something you can do step by step. These daily wins are the things that build your confidence. They show you that you are moving forward and that you can learn. This good feeling is a strong reason to keep going. It makes you want to continue, to learn more, and to speak more. The best way to make daily practice work is to make it a habit, not a job. Think about things you do every day without even thinking about them. Maybe you brush your teeth, or have a cup of coffee, or look at your phone. You can add your English practice to these parts of your day. For example, if you take a bus or train to work or school, that's a perfect time to listen to a story from your book. While you are waiting for your coffee to brew, you can read a short part of a page. Before you go to bed, you can spend 5 minutes copying a character's words. The key is to make it easy to do. Have your book or your audio ready. Don't make it difficult. When something is easy to do, you are more likely to do it regularly. It stops feeling like a task and starts feeling like a normal part of your day, like checking the weather. So, how does learning with stories make this daily practice more enjoyable and less like a job compared to old ways? Well, old ways often ask you to remember things that don't have real meaning for you yet. You learn a word like apple, but you don't see it, taste it, or use it in a sentence. It's just a word on a list. This can feel very boring and useless. But with stories, every new word or grammar rule is connected to something happening. You learn apple when Lily is eating a snack, or when Tom is buying food. You see the word in action. This makes the word feel alive. You understand it because of the situation. This connection makes learning feel useful and interesting. It's the difference between looking at a picture of a tasty cake and actually eating a piece of it. The story gives you the taste of the language. You want to practice because you want to understand the story, not just because you have to learn English. The story makes the learning feel like a reward in itself. And what are the real good things a beginner notices right away after doing a short, daily practice session with stories? Let's say you spend just 10 minutes reading a short part of a story and then try shadowing one paragraph. Right after that, you might feel a little clearer in your head. You might suddenly understand a word you heard before, but didn't quite catch. you might find yourself naturally thinking of how to say a simple phrase from the story. You might feel a tiny bit more comfortable making English sounds with your mouth. It's not a huge change, but it's a definite step forward. It's like a small spark of understanding. You might have just learned how to say thank you in a new way, or understood why a character felt sad. These are small, immediate wins. They are not the final goal of speaking perfectly, but they are the important little moments that show you are learning and that it is working. They are the proof that your daily practice is having an effect, and that makes you feel hopeful to continue. By making daily learning a happy habit, you are not just learning words, you're building a strong base for speaking with confidence. This regular use of stories naturally leads us to the next step, actively using what we've learned to share our thoughts. Conclusion. Hello again, good friends. You have come to the very end of our English journey. It is good to be here with you, at this place where we can look back and see how much you have learned. Think back to when you first opened this book. Maybe English seemed like a very long, difficult road and you did not know where to begin. But you took the first step and then another and another. Finishing this book is a big success, and you should feel very happy with yourself. You have done more than just read stories. You have made your English skills stronger. You have heard new words and understood them. You have practiced speaking, maybe every day. Do you remember when some words sounded strange? Now, they probably feel more familiar, like old friends. You have learned to understand how English sounds, how sentences connect, and to feel more at ease with sounds and what they mean. That feeling of understanding, of being able to follow what someone says or a story, that is your confidence growing. It is like a small plant you started, and now you can see it beginning to grow. You are not just learning English, you are becoming better at using it, and that is a wonderful thing. This journey was made possible by something special, learning English with stories. It is like a secret tool that makes learning English feel easy and fun. Why does it work so well? Because stories are interesting. They make you want to know what will happen next. When you hear new words and grammar in a story, they make sense. You learn what a word means by how it is used, just like you learned what treasure means when someone was looking for gold. Stories also connect with how we feel, which helps us remember things better. You are not just memorizing lists of words, you are experiencing the language in use. Do you remember how we used simple words and spoke clearly in the stories? This helps you hear every sound and understand every idea. It is about learning English in a way that feels real and exciting, not like a hard job. This way of learning helps you listen better, speak more, and feel good about yourself as you learn. Now that our book is finished, your English learning journey is just starting its next exciting part. The most important thing you can do is keep practicing, even if it is only for a few minutes each day. Doing this often is like giving water to that small plant you started. It helps it grow strong. How can you keep going? Find more simple stories. Look for books for children, easy audio talks, or short videos in English. Try to speak English when you can. Even talking to yourself in English is good practice. Listening to English songs or simple shows helps your ears get used to the language. Do you remember how we talked about shadowing? It is a great way to practice speaking and listening at the same time. Try to say what you hear, like an echo. Do not be afraid to make mistakes. They are a normal part of learning. We truly believe in you and your ability to keep learning and getting better. You have the tools now, and you know how much fun English can be when you learn with stories. Thank you for sharing this learning journey with us. Keep exploring, keep practicing, and most importantly, keep enjoying your wonderful English learning journey.